Welcome to The Road Reflected with Nicole Wakelin. Automotive from the lighter side. That means cars, but also cookies, coffee, and pie. Up first, what's Nicole behind the wheel of this week?
So I'm behind the wheel of a compact truck this week. I am in the 2023 Ford Maverick Tremor XLT.
Ooh, the XLT.
It should be more like ooh tremor.
Oh, ooh, tremor.
Okay, yeah, because the XLT
I get confused as to which part of the vehicle name or designation is the cool
should be the cool part. So the
like,
Tremor
if it was
is a
me,
package.
I'd pick Maverick.
Well, that's the name
because Top Gun.
That's fair. That's a fair reason to pick it.
the coolest name in the group.
So the Ford Maverick is a compact truck. It got introduced for 2022. And they also have another compact truck. They have the Ranger. The difference between Ranger and Maverick, there are many. But think of the Maverick as a slightly smaller, slightly cheaper, slightly less everything, but not in bad ways. Like, I don't want to make it sound like it's an inferior truck. It's just a smaller option.
It's a more affordable.
It's definitely more affordable. So I was looking at, and right now you can't even get a 2023 Maverick is gone.
Really?
So yeah, it's gone.
It's
so you
sold
can
out.
only
Every
get
single manufacturer.
Yeah,
wow.
It's only on 24s at this point.
Okay.
So I can't get 23 pricing, but for the 24, the Maverick starts at 23,000-ish. The Ranger starts at 32,000-ish. So you're looking at nearly 10 grand difference. So there's a significant price difference. So yeah, they're very different, and the Ranger is nicer and prettier and more luxurious trims and just overall more comfortable and more upscale, but you're paying almost $10,000 for that privilege.
That's a big difference.
Right?
You got to really want that much truck.
It's not chump change. So the Maverick, though, what I like about it is it's also a little smaller. I like compact trucks. I think so many people get really big trucks because they want that ability to carry some cargo, but they're not really doing work with it. Right. You don't necessarily need full-size pickup.
Most of the time you're hauling air.
Or mulch.
So you might as well haul less air or mulch.
Right. So, but for like most of what people need to do, a compact truck for the average Joe is probably going to cover a lot of it. Unless you're truly doing truck stuff, you're hauling a boat or you're doing work, you're truly doing work, and you just need to go to the dump. You just need to carry your bikes, your kayak, whatever, get a compact truck. You need some real serious.
Can the Maverick haul a small boat?
It can haul. I don't know how much does a boat weigh. The Maverick
Depends
can.
on the boat. Okay.
I don't even know how much a boat weighs. A Maverick can tow 2,200 pounds.
Okay.
The Tremor, which adds off-road goodies, takes that down to 2,000.
Oh, because it weighs more.
So it's 2,000 with the Tremor, but overall 22 is what the Maverick's at, and it has a payload it can handle of 1,200 pounds. Okay. 1,200 pounds of mulch in the bed of your Maverick.
That's pretty good haul,
right? Yeah. So it is. So it's still truck. It's still just trucky things. Now, initially when they introduced it, they did not have the Tremor. The Tremor came out for 2023, so in year 2 of Maverick's existence, and gave you sort of an off-road version of the Maverick. Originally, that wasn't their intent. I remember asking at their launch, and if you want off-road, go with the Ranger. But the Ranger's a lot more expensive. You can still get into a Maverick for less than a Ranger, and you can get the Tremor package, which does. Right. And it's only available on the Lariat. I don't know why I pronounce it Lariat. On the Lariat or XLT, which are the top 2 trims. You can't get it on the base trim, but it's Lariat and XLT. And it adds a bunch of stuff. So you've got all-wheel drive, a locking rear diff. You have trail control. Are you familiar with trail control? Yeah. So it lets you, it manages your throttle, it manages your brakes, so you can just steer going down a trail. So it makes
you don't go too fast by accident.
Right. And so if you're really focusing on something gnarly and you want to just be able to focus on where you're driving, you can do that. And the truck is I will speed up and slow down and brake and keep you at your preset little crawly kind of speed.
So you kind of go at a fixed speed.
Yeah. Think of it like cruise control, but for off-roading very slow. You're not going 50 miles an hour.
Like rock crawling.
Right. So it keeps you in a very, it does a lot of the work for you, keeps you very slow. You can speed it up a little bit up and down, but it's a slow
pretty fancy in such an affordable little vehicle.
It is. It has a lot. It still offers a lot. So and what I like about the Maverick too is because it's small, if you're trying to park it, if you're trying to navigate city traffic, if you're just trying to park it at your local grocery store, for crying out loud, you don't have to look and think, well, am I actually going to fit in that spot? How close is did the 2 trucks that are parked
on the... You can
actually
parallel park it in a city.
Right? And that's the thing, because that manageable size comes with, it's more affordable on gas, it's more affordable to buy, and it's easier to deal with every day. It's easier for everyday life, because even if you are doing truck stuff. Like no one's going to deny that it's harder to park a full-size truck than it is a compact. It's harder to park a Super Duty than it is a full-size. The bigger they get, the more of a challenge it is, especially in urban environments. So something like the Maverick is absolutely brilliant if you live in one of those places. We're not really in an urban environment. We're in rural New Hampshire. I still love compact trucks.
Yeah, you can get a lot of mums in the back of a compact truck.
You can get, yes, we filled it with mums. We filled it with
get pumpkins and mums. You know, you're all set.
Yes.
Fall, it's that time. Yeah.
And it has a nice interior. It's not as fancy as you're going to find in the Ranger or more expensive trucks, but it still is nice. And I feel like if you're getting this, you're kind of making that decision. I don't want to pay for pretty. I don't want to pay for extra fancy.
Right.
It's not ugly. It doesn't look cheap. It's just not the same quality and fanciness of trims, but they still do a good job. They pick colors.
Yeah.
The textures of the materials that they pick keep it from being this giant blank slate of just plastic for miles.
I think it
still
cool.
looks good.
I think the version you have looks really nice.
Well,
the splash of color.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like super affordable. It looks like a nice little sporty truck.
Well, and the Tremor gets cool orange accents inside and out. Like it says Tremor that's embroidered on the headrest. It's got little orange accents here and here. I want to say the tow hooks are orange. There's a section of the wheels that are orange. So it gets a little pop of color and personality.
With the Trailhawk. It's got that little bit of a vibe.
Yeah, but let's just be real. The Trailhawk...
much more affordable.
Yeah.
And not as capable.
Yeah, the Jeep capability in this capability, or in this case, for this particular thing.
I just mean from the red stitching and stuff. They got that little bit of kick up.
Yes. Yeah. So, so I like the Maverick. I think it's an affordable, good option. And also it comes as a hybrid or a gas vehicle. You can do both. So
Which one do we have? Was it gas?
We have the gas because this packet is only available with the gas this way. So it used to be that the hybrid was standard, and it was for 23, technically the model year that we're driving. But the gas engine was available. Now they flip-flopped it. The gas is standard. The hybrid is available. And it's like $1,500 extra except for the XLT trim. Excuse me, for the Lariat. And Lariat doesn't matter. It's already baked in. But if you get the mid-range or base trim, you're paying an extra $1,500 for the hybrid engine.
For the hybrid. So it's more affordable to go pure gas.
Right.
Which is probably why they flipped it, because most people want the affordable truck.
Well, most people were they were selling so much of the hybrid. I think they're well, if people want the hybrid that much, let's make that the $1,500 option.
Okay, smart. Right.
See? A little bit of marketing there. So I think that's probably, I don't know, I didn't have insight into Ford for why they did exactly what they did. But so that's the change. So if you're looking for it now, it comes standard with a gas engine, and you're going to have to option to have the hybrid, which it's still, no matter what you do, this is not an expensive truck. It's a much more affordable truck. I think, and I love they have huge pockets on the doors. And did you notice how the door sort of handle the armrest kind of thing that you would pull in?
Yeah, the handle's short.
It's sort of cut out
cool rivets
because the way it's made. Double check next time you get in the car. You can actually put a giant water bottle in there, and everything's out of the way.
They did that way. That's
it
cool.
gives these cutouts to
I just thought it was for a cool hand grip sort of feel.
It's also cool looking, but it is functional coolness as well.
They put some thought into the style of this. They didn't just throw together a cheap vehicle.
No,
it
isn't just style. Let's make a cheap little truck and put it at the bottom of the lineup. It's let's make a more affordable truck and actually give you good reason to still like this one. Yeah, it's more affordable. Yes, it's not as fancy as a Ranger. Certainly not as an F-150 or, what you get in fancy trims of those trucks. But the Maverick is still a really nice truck, and I like it. Hey, everyone, if you like what you're hearing, then go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe either on YouTube or your favorite podcatcher.
Woo!
So, thanks for the enthusiasm.
Woo! Don't forget to give us those positive reviews. Remember, only positive reviews are necessary. There's no need to put a negative review up there. No one's going to read it. Let's be honest.
So I had something very different as the second part of this. So folks at Gocycle, which makes electric bikes.
Oh, this was so cool.
Okay, so they reached out to me and they say, hey, Nicole, would you ride our bike? Ride our bike.
Ride your bicycle.
Ride our bike. And I said, I don't know the first thing about electric bikes. They said, even better reason, would you ride our bike? And I said, sure. So they dropped off their electric bike in our driveway for us to play around with, and both of us could play around with it, which you can't drive the cars.
Normally, I don't get to drive your motor vehicles, but I got permission to drive the Gocycle.
The Gocycle, people were like, sure, have at it. Let your husband ride the Gocycle. So we both had a chance to ride this.
This was super fun. And I may have just borrowed it for a while and gone all the way with my daughter down to the bakery and back. And then Nicole took it, and then she rode on it, and I couldn't get it back from her, and it was very, very frustrating.
So we did, So we did a bunch of riding with this. Mm-hmm. We did some rides together. We did some rides on our own. Mm-hmm. I like this. So the first thing is, it's let's talk about price. And as my understanding is, this is a higher priced version, but it's also sort of one of the nicer e-bikes you can get. There's a whole bunch of e-bikes, just like there's a whole bunch of cars. But so the base one I think is about $3,500. This one is about $7,000. So
which is pricey even for a bicycle.
It's pricey.
I have a good cycle. I have a Trek cycle.
Bicycle.
Yes,
yeah.
and it is about. It's under $1,000.
Yeah,
But
okay.
you can easily spend $2,000 on a bike, but that's a lot of money.
But let's point out, this has an electric motor, and this one that we've been riding this week has carbon fiber. The wheels are actually carbon fiber.
This thing looks really cool.
There's carbon fiber in the frame, and that's all to make it more lightweight, because the idea behind this is that it's something for somebody who lives in a city.
Yeah.
So you can scoot around the city. We're not in the city. So we're sort of not quite the use case for it, but I thought it was kind of amazing, because what it can let you do here, someplace like where we are, you can ride it for miles. You can go a little further than maybe you think you can. And then if you're tired on the way back, you can be using that electric motor, right? You can use that as a little boost. So I think it kind of encourages you to push a little bit more, even if you're using it as like a bike because you want to get some exercise. If you've overdone it, you're not stuck with 1.5 miles to get your bike home. You can just use your little
Well, that's what's cool about it. But what's really, so it looks a little different because it folds.
Yes, right? And it folds incredibly small. Like everything, even the seat folds down. Yes. So when it folds down, and it has a little, like everything clips into place and has little latches, but you don't need any tools to do this.
Nope.
It's very, very quick and very, very easy to make it happen. So the idea being that if you were in a city or someplace where you wanted it to be compact, you now have to bring it onto a subway, or you're bringing it into your apartment, or someplace where it's not secure.
Or you can get it in the trunk of your car.
You could put it in the trunk of a car.
Drive to the outskirts of the city and then cycle into the city so you avoid the traffic. You know what I mean? Which is kind of cool. Like, like people do this all the time, like the rail trail end up. You can do all that kind of stuff. Okay. It's really cool. Or you could take it to a place you want to ride. Like it fits in the back of your car very easily.
Yes, it does.
And it could fit even in the back seat of your car.
It could.
It's small. Yeah,
yes, cool. It is very small. And it is nice that when it's down in its tiny size, you can pick it up and walk with it.
And it's reasonably light.
But you can also just tip it back, and the way it's made to tip back, and roll it with like one hand sort of towards the top and one, so you can roll it along. So you only have to pick it up if you're really going like upstairs or something. Yeah. You can put it back down and roll it along if you're someplace where you want it to be. You can
store it in your apartment on the third floor or something.
So it's really nice. So I really liked it. And I thought it was kind of neat that it has very clear, like it's very simple. It's very clean. There's not a lot on, like there's no dashboard like in a car, but they have little plastic clips that come with it, like sort of like rubber band things, but way more sturdy, stretchy rubber bands around the handlebars that you can put your phone in, because there's an app. And once you download the app, it talks to your bike. It knows what bike you're driving, and you can set all of these things. So you can set how the electric motor works. Like it's all based on torque when it automatically does its thing. So if you're putting real aggressive force onto the pedals, it knows maybe you want a little electric boost, but you can set it. So it's like, I barely want any force on the pedals and I want the electric boost, or no, I'm really trying to work out unless I'm really, really chugging up like a hill. Don't give me the electric boost. And you always have the on demand. So you can just do it when you want to do it. I thought it was really neat. I thought it was so easy to use, and it's just kind of fun. And it's this weird moment you start to pedal and you're sort of being kind of tentative if you've never ridden an e-bike. You're like, I don't feel anything. And the one's like, you have to push on the pedals, like push really aggressively a couple times, which all of a sudden you feel it. It's like, oh my gosh, this is going.
What was cool about it was, because I had never ridden electric. I've never ridden a powered cycle before. Like I've ridden the little motorized scooters. And so I was expecting this. And as I said, I have a pretty good Trek bike and I ride it pretty frequently. And so I'm used to cycling. But I was kind of expecting this to be more like riding a powered scooter.
Yeah.
That you could pedal if you wanted to, but you never did.
No.
What was interesting about it was there were like multiple modes that you can figure out from your phone.
Yeah.
And it was very intuitive because we didn't get any instructions. We just got the thing.
No, they did, to their credit, they did give me an overview. You weren't there for the overview.
But they gave us, the app walks you through little short videos, like under 2 minutes, everything you need to know. So you can learn the whole thing but really, if you treat it like a normal bicycle, like you just hop on it and start pedaling, you can figure it out. And there's really 3 modes, but I only really mess with 2 of them on how the bike can add power. One of them is on demand. And so I tried it that way first. And so basically, because the bicycle is so light and the pedals work like you'd expect, on the one handle, there's just a little dial you can turn up and down to shift gears. So there's basically 3 gears on this bike, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's fine.
But it's enough. It's totally enough. You don't feel like, I don't have a 10 speed.
So you have like
a
light gear for hills and a medium and heavy, just like you would on a 5 speed, but it's only 3. But then on the other side, there's a knob that can either turn the lights on to different settings, or add power to the bike. So if you have it in sort of on-demand mode, you pedal it and ride it like a normal bicycle and just turn the other knob to add a little juice.
Yeah.
And I rode about 3 miles trying that. And what I found was I thought I would depend on the juice a lot, but I really didn't. Like I rode it normally. And then when I got to a hill or a part that was a little extra work, and I ride these trails all the time, so I'm like, oh, it's that hill. But this time I'm like, oh, I don't care. I just turned the thing and zoop right up the hill. And I started riding again. It was great. But then on the way back, I switched it to what they call the city mode. And in the city mode, as you pedal, there's actually more simulated gears in city mode. And as you pedal, it just decides how much electric to add to your pedaling. So it's trying to maintain a current speed with the bike based on your pedaling, but your pedal pushback is always the same. Yeah. So you're basically just pedaling and getting sort of a nice little workout. But when you get to one of those super steep hills, the bike just adds juice and you're still pedaling the same rate. It's almost like you're pedaling on a flat surface. I think it was really cool.
No, I thought it was cool. And the thing that I thought that was the nicest about it is that first few minutes you're trying to get used to. If you ride an e-bike before, it probably is no big deal. Right. But if you haven't, and you're kind of thinking like, I don't know if I want to ride this e-bike thing. Is this going to be weird? I'm going to fall off. Like I had one friend, she's like, that looks like the kind of thing I would fall off of in 30 seconds. I'm like, no, because as long as you know how to ride a bike.
It's just a bicycle.
There's a sort of, it becomes so intuitive. You almost don't even pay attention to, notice the motor, but it's not this like, oh gosh, it's kind of like driving a car that has a hybrid engine. At first you're very conscious, like you're driving it and thinking, oh, it's kicking back and forth from one to the other. But then you don't think about it. It just does its thing.
The only nuance to it is just that the wheels are relatively small. They're like dirt bike size. So that the vehicle's small, easy to put in your trunk and stuff. It doesn't have a big sort of what you traditionally think on like a street 10 speed, like a cycler's bike. So what that basically means is that when you turn, it turns sharper than you expect, right? So you just got to be a little more careful in the turning. And it has a little less suspension, so it gets a little bumpier off road.
When we were on the parts of most of the trail that we were on is paved, but some of it is actually dirt, like a packed dirt with little knobby roots and stuff,
trail.
Like a walking trail. It's not like a biker trail or anything.
A little bit of gravel, a few roots.
So it was still fine on that, but you do feel the bounce. I mean, these wheels are proprietary to this vehicle, like they, with the carbon fiber trim and stuff. I kind of wish there was like an off-road wheel if you wanted to.
It's definitely smoother on the street, but it was fine for what we did.
Yeah.
And we were driving
we were riding in a park. Yeah.
On dirt trails and then also on mostly paved trails. And it was perfect. But what's great about it, like you said, Nicole, what's great was when you're coming home, there's a couple of really big hills on the way back to the house.
And you're tired, right? Because you're at the end. There's
a nice long ride. And it's like, oh, there's the big hill. And my daughter was riding with us on her regular bike. And she gets to the hill. She's like, oh, here we go. I think I'm just going to walk. And I'm exhausted. I'm like, nope, zoop. And I zipped to the top. And I turned back and came back around. And then I was zipping slowly next to her, mocking her incessantly because I had batteries. And she was like, oh, just laugh it up. It was great. It was a lot of fun for that. It was really, really pretty cool.
It's very fun. I can see how this would be amazing in a city, but even just for here, I think it's great. I would be more encouraged to go downtown where we are, having an e-bike, instead of taking a car when the weather's nice, because if either you're tired or you're there longer than you think, or it just gets too hot, you can come back and you don't have that thought of like, wow, I really want a really long way.
The trails are beautiful. There's no traffic on them.
Yeah.
And of course you can zip right there with this, and it's silent too. It's the other thing. It's completely silent.
Which is nice.
It's not making any noise. And it was a lot of fun. I was really impressed.
Yeah, I was surprised. I feel like now the next time I'm someplace where there's an e-bike option to try, I'm going to try it. Hey, wait, did we just drive by a bakery? Okay, so last week I talked about a bakery that I went to when I was in Spain for a drive program for the EX30, which I still can't talk about, but for that vehicle. So went and had these really cool donuts that were shaped like people, like little meeples. But there was some other stuff that we did there. And here's the thing I discovered. So we were in Barcelona. Mm-hmm. Beautiful city. Never been there before. I got to see a little bit of it, which is wonderful. Like people go to Spain. It's lovely. Put that on your list of places that you would like to visit. Definitely go to Spain. But it's Catalonia is the region that I'm in. Barcelona's part of Catalonia.
Sounds cool. I've never been to Spain, so I don't know.
Right? But so we had something in restaurants that I actually Googled, and it's called Catalan tomato bread. Okay, sounds really kind of not very exciting.
Was this like a special for this particular restaurant?
So I thought the first time they brought this out to us, I thought, oh, this is just a thing here. And then they showed us how to do it. And I kind of thought, oh, this is just a touristy, silly thing. No one can possibly do this every meal. And then guess what? I saw it everywhere. Ooh. It was on the menu all over the place.
So kind of like here in the Italian restaurants in America, you have like oil and olive oil and a little bit of herbs.
And they do it everywhere. But this
was
was different. So what was so cool about it, you kind of do this yourself. So you kind of make it taste like what you want it to taste like. Mm-hmm. So they give you this piece of, think like a crusty, like Italian bread loaf or a friend, but like wide, not like a baguette, a little bit wider, than they cut it lengthwise and they cut it into pieces.
I like
so you have a piece like the size of your palm of your hand, like a rectangular piece. Then so you'll get the bread sliced like that on a tray in some places, and a bunch of whole tomatoes and a bunch of cloves of garlic, some salt and some olive oil. And you're like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like not mashed potato, not like diced, just whole tomatoes. So now you've got your breads. Take your piece of bread. Somebody lops the tomatoes so you have a raw edge on your tomato.
Sliced tomato. Yeah.
Yes. And you rub that. You don't slice it. You're just cutting a chunk off. Like you're cutting it in half.
Like a tomato half.
Like imagine you took your tomato, an average sized tomato, and you cut it in half. And then you take the raw half versus the skin half, and you rub it on this bread. You really just rub it on the bread, almost like as if you were grating cheese on a cheese grater. Just rub.
Juice and the seeds. And
so you're rubbing it on this bread, and you're getting some of the meat of the tomato, the flesh of the tomato, a little bit of seeds, a little bit of meat, juice. But you're like putting, and however much you want. Like, do you want lots of tomato?
You mush it in there,
right?
Very light. Okay.
Or you can go very light. So you're doing this, you're squishing it, and you see everybody rubbing this on the bread, and you're kind of like.
So you're in the restaurant, everybody's like rubbing tomatoes on bread.
So the first time you feel like an idiot, you're like, this has to be touristy. And then the next time you're sitting in a restaurant, you'll think, oh my God, those people live here and they're doing this. Oh, this is really a thing, right? So they get the tomato on there. Mm-hmm. Then you take the clove of garlic. And I was sitting there and I'm trying to peel the little bits of the papery bit off the garlic. And the waiter looks at me like, no, you don't need to do that. And he just uses a knife and cuts a raw edge. So again, you have that little edge, and you just rub it. Same thing. You rub this on the bread, but as you're rubbing on the bread, the part you want gets stuck to the bread. The paper part just kind of peels back, right? So it's still held in your hand. So you can use as much as you want. Like if you really want to make sure there are 0 vampires in your room that night, have at it with the garlic. Mm-hmm. If you're not so much into garlic, just a little bit, right? So then you rub this garlic all over it, rub. So you have tomatoes. And you have garlic and you have bread. So
I could stop there.
Right? Then they had a little thing of salt, and you just take the tiniest little bit of salt, like between your fingers almost, and you just sprinkle a little bit of salt. And they have olive oil, and you drizzle olive oil on top.
Oh, this sounds really
good. Now, the one place where I also had, because ham, the prosciutto di Parma, like the ham, is a big deal. They're really thinly sliced, all these different kinds of ham. And they had that you could put on top of it. But that's always a pain in the butt, because I feel like if you have prosciutto, think like that.
It comes off in one piece.
You try to take a bite. You never get one bite. You get your teeth in the middle, and then
the whole thing slides off.
Right. So it doesn't work. So I just took the meat and ate a piece. But you can put the meat on top of there too. But the fun thing about it is you make this yourself. Mm-hmm. It's like an interactive little meal that you're creating for yourself.
That sounds really awesome. So does every restaurant have like a different variant on this?
I don't think so. I think kind
of like everybody's bread and oil is a little different.
No, it felt like everybody had the tomato things. You could buy it at some places where it was already done. Like they gave it to you all done up already. But I saw a lot of places that we went to where you did this yourself.
This is really cool. I want to go to Spain.
The kind of neat thing about it was, when you have something and you think, oh, I really like tomatoes, but not that much. Or I really like garlic, but not that much. Or olive oil, I don't really want that much. You could, right. If you want to dump olive oil on there, if you want to mash half the tomato on there, and some of the places that I saw it where it was pre-made, it didn't remind me a little bit of bruschetta in that it was the tomatoes were smooshed on top, but it was like a thick layer.
But it really,
but it's not like the chopped up dice. It's squished on there. So sometimes it was squished a thicker layer, almost like a tomato pasty kind of worthy layer of tomato. But then I Googled it when I got home and it said Catalan tomato bread. I'm like, oh my God, that's what we had. It was a thing. It had a name. I was calling it that fancy tomato and garlic bread I got in Spain.
And did the Wikipedia describe exactly the experience?
Well, I don't know that it was Wikipedia, but the Googles said it was Catalan tomato bread and had different pictures. So, but super fun to make. I feel like I want to make that at the holidays now. I just want to throw a bunch of tomatoes on the table.
Make this and we could just do it at home and be like all fancy.
I'll cut up the bread. I'll throw a bunch of tomatoes and garlic on the table and I'll be like, you people have at it.
Why can't we do this for Thanksgiving? It'd be great.
I guess we could. There's no reason we couldn't. Nobody says we can't. So that was, so in addition to finding really tasty donuts that were shaped like little meatballs, I also had really yummy bread.
Thanks for listening to The Road Reflected. To follow more of Nicole Wakeland's adventures, head on over to NicoleWakeland.com. There you'll find links to her social media from TikTok to Twitter, as well as her work across a wide range of media outlets. Until next time, keep it shiny side up.